Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Channeling Ascensions. I'm your host, Sara Troy, along with my co-host, Christina Hill, her beautiful entity, Othello, who will be coming in at any time. We don't know when. And our guest today in Vancouver, BC, Allan Knight, a former monk, Zen monk. He's come a long way since then. Now he is that motivational speaker, getting people on track, helping them we're picking up a little reverb from somebody, I think Christina. So we'll just get our sound right now so that you can truly hear everything absolutely wonderful here today.
Let's get a tweak for that, yeah.
And it's tweak, not twerk, folks, okay? There's a different kind of show altogether.
That's good.
But we want to have some fun here, but we also want to help you how to de-stress, how to get the wild voice out of your head. It's so hard, I know, when you're busy and everything is going on in your life and you've got everything coming at you, the news, the demands from your family, demands from your job, just demands everywhere. How do you calm down? How do you zen in and focus in on the heart and the soul and the spirit, because that always takes you into that beautiful spot, which our guest Allan will know as a former monk of it's going in to live out, isn't it, Allan? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's very kind of you.
So just give us a little background on being a monk, because you've come from a monk. People don't normally think, a monk into kind of this business motivator and helping people get their clarity in life. Tell us a little bit about being a monk, and why would you leave such peace and tranquility to come into this world of chaos?
Actually, it's no longer chaos for me. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Well, that's good. That's good that you could bring the Zen with you.
Absolutely. That's the goal. Well, just very briefly, when I was a teenager, I was mostly a jock. I was into sports and athletics, and I wasn't really particularly a spiritual person. I really didn't believe that there was anything beyond the physical body and the rational mind. But then I had a life-changing experience. My mother was diagnosed with cancer when I was 13 and told she had 6 months to live. She lived for about 20 years. So my mother was my first role model of the power of the human spirit. Then my father died when I was 19, and I was rather confused. I was into a Bachelor of Psychology at the time, and I just decided to take a year off and travel around the world. I did so. It still seemed a little empty to me, but I came very close to dying on the desert when I was near the Mediterranean Sea. And that was really a profound, life-changing experience, because there was so much fear in me that when I got back to Montreal, where I'm from, I started to be open to spirituality, and I met these people that were living in the Zen center at the time. And I looked at their eyes, and they looked so clear and calm and centered. And I said, I want some of that. And so within a week, I moved in and literally lived as a monk for 9 years of my life. But then I missed girls too much, so I left the monastery.
Yes, there are those other human side of things as well, because as monks, it's very much being in tune from the inside, isn't it? It's not about an exterior thing, but we're still in a human body, and we still want to experience things. And when we realize the gift of human and spirit together, and the ability to touch, to taste, to feel, it's really, really wonderful. Christina, you know about that, don't you?
Yes, as an international coach, an author, vegan master, all of these things, these are all labels and titles. But really, bottom line is that we all are seeking the peace and the peace of mind, whether you're in a monastery and whether or not you're out in the world, or you're more recluse and you're hermit crab. Then it's always an inside job, and we always will have to turn inward to solve the ultimate, the head mind thoughts, the ultimate question of how I can calm my own mind. And there's just not ever going to be anything on the outside really that's going to do that for us. The thing about monastery living, I think, can also be stressful. It just depends on your your state of mind. You know, you could be totally stressed out and be in a monastery, but I think it's the shift and the ability to then come and bring mindfulness into the mind. And I think also it's very important to say this too. It's like whenever you're willing, whenever the person is really willing to go in and go inward. And it sounds like, Allan, in your experience, it's, you know, that's a phenomenal story to start life off that way, and then to come and take a year off and travel, and then come to the place where you're, you know, near death or apparent death. And people get to that point and then they're willing to really go inside and see the ultimate, to see the eternity, and then take it from there. And that's, I mean, that's so cool that this evolved to this point to where we're sitting here now today and hearing your story, and you're sharing your light, the light through the eyes that you're talking about. I understand that. I mean, Sara, you have that light through your eyes.
Well, you know, it's the
yes.
The near-death experience is something that a lot of people, it's their wake-up call, isn't it? You know, it's suddenly where you kind of see life for really what it is, but more about what you really want it to be for you. And I think for some people it's the old cosmic 2x4, or it is, you know, these are the gates. Which one do you want to go through? And the fact that you chose to go and be a monk for 9 years, you know, where at your peak of your masculinity, you know, where the girls should be the feature, you put that on pause.
I was an idiot. I'm
sure you made up for lost time when you got out.
I did.
So funny. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
And of course, coming into the world of, you know, into the real world, so to speak, with that Zen piece about you, the people you would have attracted around you are very different, aren't they? Because you're resonating at a different vibration now.
Yes.
Yeah, but what I found interesting is that in the 9 years, I practiced a lot of meditation. It was very disciplined. I experienced getting into the deep level of the Zen zone, the mental clarity, and all that was great. But when I went back into society, here's the interesting thing, and why I created a 9-step program, is that I realized I became a basket case. Because when I got back into society, because I never really dealt with the emotional, psychological turbulence from my past, everything out there was triggering me: relationships, money, career, pressure, peer pressure, family pressure. And so I realized that, oh my God, with all those years of experience in Zen, I wasn't really living my Zen to a high level. I actually consider myself a better monk today than I was then. So that led me to really working a lot on myself, and my whole 9-step program is about how to master all your relationships and your communication from the inside out, which connects all the dots: the mind, the emotion, the intuition, and the communication. So that's part of what I learned.
That's
the
phenomenal.
That's phenomenal. You know, you talked about the mind, Christina, is that first and foremost, the mind has to be willing to be open to information. And then you realize that the information, when it comes from the heart, or is heartfelt, or it's soul connected, the divine connection, and then of course the spirit gets into it, you know, you understand the knowledge you're receiving. But if you're receiving the knowledge just in the head and it hasn't connected with the heart or anything, it's misinformation in a lot of ways, isn't it? You haven't got the whole picture.
Yeah, and also what I found when I left the monastery is that as I started to be with more and more people who were into spirituality, that there were some people that would hide out, as I did for a while, in the spirituality. So a lot of people who are not comfortable with who they are as a human being sometimes become overly, you could become overly attached to even good things like a relationship. You meet your soulmate and then you become obsessed and afraid to lose that person. So unless you work on yourself, and I finally realized that unless you accept, love, and adore yourself like your own child, you're going to have a trouble loving and unconditionally other people. And that requires a very holistic approach to personal development and spiritual development, at least in my opinion.
Yes, I completely concur with that. And we could call that codependency, shifting out of codependency to coming into oneself, to stepping into one's true self, and you're whole. And so you don't have a better half. You suddenly have a whole, and then a whole, and then yes. And I love how you say this, Allan, about treating yourself the way that you would a child. Oh my goodness, we need to do a whole show on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the interesting thing about that is some people, last night I had a meetup that I do every 2 weeks, and somebody said, in all your experience as a coach, what's the number one thing more than anything else holding most people back? And I said, there are many things, but the one that jumps out at me the most is that most people are way too hard on themselves and too self-critical.
Yes.
And until they solve that one,
Right.
everything else is a bit of a Band-Aid. So it's extremely important to love yourself like your own child. And most people don't.
Yeah.
Right.
We cannot show love to the world or be of a loving essence, a loving, resonance until we are love ourselves. And that is a journey, part of life's journey, that wholeness. It took me too many years to count for me to be my human and my spiritual self. I always look to my spiritual self for wisdom, but this disconnect with that, somehow I'm separate from that. And it's only when I finally became one and whole that I stepped into my own presence. Now, it also means when you're resonating on that love, not everybody's going to get it, because you're on a certain frequency, you're on a certain vibration, and other people that are still changing the knob and the channels aren't always going to tune into you. And that's okay, isn't it? Because we just have to honor the space we're in and speak to the people that are ready to receive us. We can't keep changing our knobs back and forth to try and capture everyone. You can only capture those that are ready to receive on your frequency.
Yes.
The other thing related to what you're saying, Sara, is one of the things that I saw very clearly when I started to do coaching and training is that there were a lot of people talking about self-development, about law of attraction, about law of manifestation, etc. And it became very theoretical because a lot of people that came into my office and I would ask them, how much work have you done on your personal spiritual development? Many of them would say, quite a lot. And I said, what did you do? Well, we've attended rah-rah seminars. We've read a lot of books. And nothing wrong with them. I've done them as well. But then when I would do my evaluation and asking to rate themselves from 0 to 100% in about 30 categories, the vast majority still suffer from procrastination, still suffer from a hyperactive mind, fear of rejection, and the list goes on. And so I finally had the light bulb go on when I realized if I want to get in top physical shape, and Sara, you're a physical fitness trainer, you don't ask me to.
Not me.
Well, I'm just using it as an example,
That would be the wrong fit.
Oh, that's so funny.
Well,
Yeah.
if you were, you wouldn't send me out the Himalayan mountains tomorrow if I was 100 pounds over shape.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have me read books. You wouldn't have me to go rah-rah seminars. You get me in the gymnasium to work out. So what I finally came to realize is that if that's true for physical fitness, shouldn't it be true for inner and verbal fitness? And that's why I created how to get out of the head and into emotional commitment, action, and mastering your communication and put all of them together.
Yeah, but this is where I say you've got to have everything. All the switches have to go on because it's you talk about those rah-rahs, and I've been to them, and I kind of found I had an allergic reaction to them because everybody's on a sugar high. Yay! And they go out and it's plonk, completely flat, and it's and that's it, isn't it?
That is what it is. We fall flat on our asses. And this is what we do in our retreat. So everyone knows I do coaching. I coach clients privately. There's channeling that I do with people on Skype and things. But then the retreats are a totally different thing. And we go into retreat not so that we can just have this wonderful wispy experience and then we come away and then, okay, it's back to the grind. It's back to my life. But so that we can actually foster inner retreat for the rest of our life. Retreat is just a word. It's just like, and it's a concept that some people, I think they get into their head and then we come away from it. And it's like, I went to retreat, and just like Allan, you were saying about all the information, I've read all these books, I've done all these seminars, but are we living it? And so the shift can happen at any time when we decide that we are going to live from the heart space, that we're going to integrate any of the knowledge and the retreat experience, we're going to actually go and live it. But a lot of people don't have the tools. So through having an expert coach who's got a plethora of tools, whether it be hypnosis or biofeedback or tapping on the body or eye movement therapy, you've got someone who's expert going in there with you so that you can actually change the neural pathways of the brain, change from the inside out. That's phenomenal. I think it's dynamite, Allan, that you've put together the program and that you work with people in this way. It's really the only way to authentically change. I mean, without crashing, as you say. Sorry.
Right. But the important thing is that you started off with a particular idea. And the thing is, a lot of people will start off with something, oh, I've learned how to do this. All I'm going to do is mimic it now. And the thing is that you take your own experience and even in your teaching, and you go, hang on, this something is missing here. I need to produce something here that fills this gap, or this is not being received well. And it's always about tweaking. It's always about looking at what the need is and perfecting it. Because when we're looking at the complexities of the human, we are so many layers. And if we're not addressing all of those layers, we're missing something out. That missing link can unravel everything. So these 9 points that you brought up, Allan, they came about through you seeing what was really needed through coaching your people?
Yeah, I started to realize that people were spending so much money on training and development. Some people admitted to me over the last 5-10 years that they spend up to $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on self-development. And I felt what bothered me is that, and listen, this is not a criticism of other people and training and motivation. It's all valuable. But I almost felt that there were some people out there that were playing on people's emotions and vulnerabilities that needed them, and they went back and they upgraded and they spend more money. And I felt that I'd rather make a lot less money and help more people by something that actually works. So that's why I took a very practical inner fitness, verbal fitness system, so that when people go through my program, not only do they fast track their ability to get into the Zen zone, build their inner confidence and master their communication, but then they have a self-coaching system for life. That doesn't mean they're not going to benefit from the two of you and other people, but they're going to be less dependent in the wrong way for just getting a fix out there. So that's why I developed it over the years.
For a lot of people, it's actually become an addiction. Because instead of them taking the tools and working on themselves, they keep going to kind of get that fix, and it's not something they're applying. It's just something they're doing. And really what we're encouraging people to be is become, not just do. Beingness, not doingness, right?
And also another thing is that as thought leaders and aspiring thought leaders, if we're going to make a huge difference in the world, I realized a long time ago, I didn't want to be a teacher. I wanted to be a master. I wanted to be walking the talk. And there are a lot of people that talk about spirituality, but they're not necessarily living it. And I am so blessed in the last 2 years of my life. I actually have inner freedom on an almost consistent basis that I never had. And that's why I'm allowing myself to get out more into the world, because I didn't feel so good about it before. I said, I have a lot of qualities, but I feel there's something still missing that's enabling me to really inspire people so that they can feel it. I'm not just talking about it, but I'm in the zone most of the time.
Yes. I think people are getting tired too of the tips and, the McDonald's of spirituality kind of.
I like that.
McDonald's of spirituality?
Well, come on now, Allan. This is not true.
Drive-through spirituality.
Exactly. We drive through, we get our order, and we're all.
That's a good one.
It is
That's
a good
one.
And it's like, I'm
stealing that one.
Yes, that's going to be repeated for sure.
It's for everyone though, because we want I'm not kidding. This is like authentic time. This is the time in the planet. The shift has happened.
Yes.
Now we're ascending, and we want authenticity. We want.
It's interesting because one of my passions ever since I was 19 was about soulmates, and I've been blessed to meet a number of soulmates in my life. And I've started recently the Soulmate Revolution. My goal in the next 10 years is to help facilitate 100,000 soulmates to come together. And when I first read about soulmates, Kubler-Ross, who I'm sure you know well, she said something very interesting. She said, if you want to get into relationships, that's easy peasy. But if you want to meet your highest level soulmate, you better do the work to
Yeah.
attract that into your life. Because if you
Yes.
don't, you're going to have the runner and chaser come back because they're going to run away from each other. They mirror each other. And I think if we're going to make a huge difference in the world, unless we get the inner soulmate in order, so as we attract other soulmates founded on inner, that's why my training is going to be a foundation to the soulmate revolution. Could you imagine what the world would be like if we had millions of soulmates making a difference in the world? Because most soulmates come together for that purpose. That excites me more than it. Exactly.
Collaborating, not competing. The
Exactly.
thing is that when you've stepped into soul, isn't it? Oh, my soul's better than yours. If you truly are in soul purpose and in heart resonance, there is no competition. It is collaboration. It's just another dish at the table or another instrument in the orchestra, right?
Was that hot resonance?
Resonance, heart, resonance.
Or heart,
Heart.
or both?
Heart,
Both?
hot, hot beating heart.
Christina, really hot, really hot.
Really hot. Like,
She's in
turn it
102
up.
temperatures today, folks. She's feeling the heat.
But the other thing about the soulmate thing is that unless you get to that's why I talk about accepting and loving yourself to that level. Because if you unconditionally love yourself, now you've eliminated control, manipulation, and all these other things that get in the way. So let's say one of you is my soulmate. I could just love you and let you be you without worrying about whether you're going to leave me or not. But most people aren't really there. That's the problem.
That's the exactly. I'll just chime in here too. I agree with you. There is an insecurity. There's a farce on the planet. It's like an epidemic that we somehow need to be in partnership without healing ourselves first, that we don't need to be looking inward first, but that to be complete, that we need to be partnered with, and that somehow is going to fill us up. And we got our security resting in this insecure place when nobody can fill up our tank but us. And that's so true. We know this, we think we know this, but then what are we doing? We're depending upon these external conditions or people, relationships, particularly because I'm a recovered codependent. So I understand this very deeply, how we can then attach, and then they're controlling the push, the pull, all of that stuff. And it's really, it's all mind stuff. It's all gobbledygook of the mind. And it's
life expectation, right? As we've talked about before, is the pressure of society putting on you that you must be, you've got to do. We can live
from our soul. Really, it's our calling. And then, as Allan is saying, we have our soulmate here so that we can co-create, so we can elevate our vibration. So whomever that we're with, if they're not lifting us up and that we're more free to expand, then we can see this shrinkage, this contraction happening, and it's fear-based. You can always tell the difference. If you walk around, you can see where people are completed and filled up, and they're sharing. It's co-creation as opposed to the fear-based, oppressive kind of relationship. So there's a huge energy-wise, there's a huge difference there, and we're all invited now to join in. But to first start with number one, like oxygen mask goes over our face first before we go to the child. Or
on that note, Christina, somebody, and I don't remember who this was, said something really interesting, that most people believe they're looking for love, but what they're looking for is mommy and daddy in a younger body.
Yes.
And most of us think that we want love, but we're looking still to get the love that we didn't have. But when you elevate the game, as you just said, then the power is amazing of the couples, and that couple resonates into their family, into community, into the world. So that's what excites me about the soulmate revolution, at least being part of that.
Yes.
I think it's also control. We are so busy about, you've got to be in control. When we realize the only control we have is stepping in, being responsible, choosing to become a part of, taking the journey, and owning our own actions, our own thoughts, our own being. We have control over that, how much we participate in our own lives. But we have zero control of what's going on out there. And if you're still trying to hold on control, you're going to burst at some point, because it's just tightening you up. It's not releasing you out.
You know, Sarah, with related to what you say, I see everyone, I'm sure you do too. People are just so obsessed with the political situation.
Yes.
And they're so, I don't care whether you like the Democrats or the Republicans, or you hate Trump or you love Trump, but people have become so divisive and so obsessed with that. And that just another excuse to run away from who you are, because at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to make a difference is transforming us and loving people. And if you don't like somebody, then get involved in the process and do something positive and creative rather than burn down or something like that.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
So it's so important on so many levels.
Rise up.
And when we can turn in, how often do we do this? Like we have a colleague, you know, it's in our face or something, and we have that immediate reaction to go outward and to go out and lash or to react in that moment rather than going within. It's just, we forget. I just think that we forget. So with the Trump example, it's perfect. Like finding yourself on social media, if you're engaged in that, the anger's rising up. How often are you going to stop and like go in and say, what's happening inside? Oh, and then become aware and go with that. But it's training the mind to do this. It's remembering to do this. And then consistently building as a lifestyle, we go within.
You know, another thing that I found very valuable around that, Christina, is I had my own patterns in relationship. I tended to attract women that were like my father. I loved my father, but he was kind of an angry man. He suppressed his anger, kind of grumpy. So I was afraid of him. And inevitably, I was attracted to women who were bitchy.
Yep.
And I would go after women who they weren't emotionally available. The ones that liked me, you know, that syndrome, I wasn't interested in them.
Right.
So one day I came to the point where I said, either I'm going to end up in a mental institute because of a rejection, or I'm going to grow and love myself. And I got fed up. And the word fed up is very important to me, because I've learned that unless people get emotionally fed up where they say, that's it, the gig is up, you can talk and analyze. No more, it's finished, the gig is up.
Yeah.
And from that point, I never had that problem. I had other problems, but not that one.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, rewind a little bit, is I recently had an experience where, you know, I've learned to honor my own space now. And I also know how much I can take around me. You know, any conflict, any friction, I know when to pull back. And if a friction comes up, it's automatically that my energy will retreat. It's a form of the barrier automatic kind of protection, because I don't want to be in that energy. And it's kind of very interesting, because the reaction to it is, I'm going to be angry at you retreating, because I want to fight. And this is, I think, one of the things that is part of the challenge of being in this, is that this is going to be the reaction you're going to get from some people. They want to fight. They want to argue. They want to, because they're still there. They still have got things to spend. And you've shown kind of some love and some nurturing to them. And then when you don't want to show the other, you're not going to go there. It's, well, why not? You know, put the fisties up. And I think this is something that you have to completely retreat from, because, as you said, interaction with people, you must honor your own energy and the people that you have around you and what you have around you. It isn't like, well, now I'm in this loving energy, I've got to go and love everybody no matter what they do to me, right? Because that we can't stay on that resonance if we allow that to happen.
Well, on that note, one of the things that I teach in my, being a communication coach, I often recommend to people that see it this way. Every human being is different. If you get your ego out of the way, that's why I say, if you master yourself and you get calm and content, and you could focus on being aware of who you're speaking with, try to get in touch with what is the most appropriate thing I could do or say that will elevate this game. And then it might be just listening and giving them a mental hug. It could be asserting yourself and being tough love and being firm. It could be saying how wonderful they are and acknowledging them. But it's about responding appropriately in each situation, because there's no black or white rule for every situation.
Right.
But if you've mastered yourself, I call it dancing with your client, dancing with that other person.
Yes. And my coaching practice is the same. I'd say the number one thing that people come to me as is, he did this to me. This is happening to me. I can't handle this because it's happening this way. And
Blame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the fear and the fear goes deep. It goes back to childhood. It goes back
Yes.
to mommy and daddy and
Trigger.
yes,
Trigger happy. We're all trigger happy.
Oh,
Christina, are you trigger happy, Christina?
woo! Well, I'm on fire, I'll tell you that.
Literally. I hope you've got your potatoes there that you're baking while you're in there.
I am filtering hot. But seriously though, we get our chakras in alignment. We master, self-mastery is not something that we have to go to the mountains of the Himalayas to do. And then we take a little bit of our energy and a little bit of our time, we go inward. It is amazing what that will shift with everything. Everything external shifts as a result of us going inside.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that.
Hallelujah.
Yes. There's a song last year that was my song of the year, Rise Up by Andrea Day.
I love that song.
It's not about rising up in pitchforks. It's about rising up arm in arm, black, white, pink, yellow, polka dot, who cares what your religion is. It's rising up as a human race and saying that we're not going to feed the hate or the diversity or the difference. We're going to feed the love as a human race, because we know that a loving frequency is what feeds the planet and everything on it. It also feeds us. And I think people are hungry for this, so hungry for it, but it's the getting there because of the blame. Shame is another huge one. Lack of forgiveness of themselves and of, other people. You really have to be willing to go through the processes and let things go in order to get to that center where you feel, I really and honestly can truly love me and who I am and what I'm doing and what my purpose is, because purpose is huge, isn't it, Allan?
It is. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is I think the opposite also holds true, at least in my experience, that as much as we want to seek and enhance our ability to love more and more and more, some people run away from the reality of some of the dark shadow which needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
And so a lot of people that I meet say, well, I don't want to go there because it's too negative. But when I tell them, I say, you don't get angry to stay angry. You get in touch with your anger, see it, embrace it, channel it, and release it.
Yes.
Because if you suppress it and pretend it's not there, it's going to control you.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that people also don't, I'm not saying that you said that, but I'm saying that a lot of people like to elevate themselves and then neglect some of the down and dirt. I have found that I have grown more through my challenges and obstacles and pain and the dark nights of the soul than I have by positive thinking and trying to love somebody without dealing with some of that stuff. It's pushed me. I was diagnosed 4 years ago, as I mentioned to Christina, with Parkinson's, and I'm working on it, controlling it, and I feel I've never felt better in my life. But one of the benefits is that it's pushed me, or I've allowed it to push me to a deep level of soul and deep level of inner mastery and love and compassion, so that I'm so much better a person. I'm not saying I want to have Parkinson's, but I used it as taught me more than just rah positive thinking. So we got to deal with both sides, is what I'm saying.
Yes, I agree. That goes back to what you're saying, Allan, before about hiding in the cloak of spirituality or all things spiritual. It can be evasive, and the escape mechanism goes in like escapism. And I've heard that said to me before, because I coach a lot of coaches. So a lot of coaches come to me and they're like, I feel blocked or stuck, or I've reached a glass ceiling and I want to pierce this, in my career, or this or that. I'm coaching people, but this is still in my life. And, they're really, really aware. They're very aware people. But it's very easy also to hide behind the cloak, the folds of these spiritual concepts. We know so much and kind of chalk it up to, this is my spiritual experience, or I want to ascend past my pain. I don't want to look at the dark or the contrast and have that come up. This is how it lands in the body, though. So when we suppress, then we're going to deal with it sometime or another. It's going to reveal itself. So I'll give an example. I have a client recently who told me she's kind of moved and shifted in her life cycle, and her son is a little bit older now. She's a single mom. And so suddenly, just all of a sudden, it seemed that she was all by herself. She's divorced, and all of her issues that from childhood that she hadn't dealt with yet came to the forefront, and it just seemed to happen all of a sudden, and it landed in her stomach. And she was very aware of this. And she, instead of, she went to see a physician and doing all this stuff, and she got some opinions there. And she said, instead of doing all that stuff, I'm going to go in and I'm going to have a conversation with my stomach, with these feelings. I'm going to continue to be with them. I'm not going to run. As I was like, the first thing we want to do, especially when there's a physical pain there, is hike it out. I want to, I gotta get out. So I was like, this is phenomenal. And this was session 1 with her. And I thought, oh my goodness. Okay, so let's go right in there. And we would sit in just these pools of pain, let the wave come up, and then go through the wave and let it come down. And by wave, I mean these waves of pain, to find that she had been very brutally abused as a child. Brutally. And had really forgotten about it, just like forgotten. And it had gotten covered up. She was a great mom, stellar mom. But then when it came down to it, was holding this in her body. She's doing great now. She has great digestive tract lining. It's recovered. She doesn't have the reflux and all of this. And it just came from that, again, going back to that willingness to not take the pills, to not go run around, hide somewhere, to not find another relationship. To run is our first, to reach, and we want to grasp and grip onto what we feel is going to save us when we save us. And
Beautiful
sometimes
story.
we need to fall, don't we?
Really true.
Because the falling is it's how you get back up. And if something's there to catch you all the time, you never learn the skill. It's the caterpillar into the butterfly. You can't force it. There are certain things we have to go through. And, we say be emotionally tuned in, but you don't have to be emotional about it. But we do have to honor our emotions. They're there for a reason. So look at them. Why are they there? Spend them. Don't wallow in them. And I think as human beings, we like to wallow in things. Oh, there's self-pity.
No, that's only Christine. It's only Christina that wants to do that.
She's wallowing with the dolphins. That's a lovely wallow.
Like a sad story.
But that was a great story, Christina. That was very profound. That was a great story.
Thank you. Well, your story, though, and we all have stories, right? It's not who we are. It's just it's a story, but it's phenomenal to hear that you have, the channeling for when we have something land in the body, it manifests in the body, requires vigilance, like a hyper kind of awareness and willingness to open ourselves with compassion and love. I just commend you. I really applaud you, Allan, for that. And look at, I want to say this out loud. I hope this isn't too bold, but look at how you look. You look with the light shining through. Yes. Look at how you look. So
don't tell them how old I am.
94, you look marvelous.
I don't believe in age.
Sarah, I don't like you.
You look 17. You do. Truly, it's like age is a state of mind. I don't even celebrate my birthday anymore. I don't care.
I'll go with that one. I'll go with that.
No, I celebrate it
17.
because I look upon every year as a gift. I made it through another year. I learned something every year. Every year is a gift. And I've had, so much death around me. And so I think every time that you reach another year, you realize you've been given this gift for a reason. It's not just for you to have a party, yay, another year. It's to celebrate, what did you do this year that you didn't do last year? Look back on your year and reflect. How much did I step in to my meaningful purpose? How much did I honor myself? How much did I step into dealing with stuff and helping others? I think this is, it's a good time to reflect. So I celebrate my birthday because, hey, yay, I made it another year.
Okay, Christina, out with it.
I'm 25.
I
feel 25. I do. I feel 25. So
I was going to say 19.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I do.
I've got this
at 17. Sarah, I have you pegged at 20 because I feel like you have, right?
Add another note.
You got the dance too.
No. Well, actually, I've got this song in my head right now. Will you still love me? Will you still want me when I'm 64? Because 64 is a month or two away for me, and it's like it's coming up. I haven't got anybody to sing that to, but that song keeps being sung in there. And I used to look at people who were older and kind of envy them because I always thought they were wise. And I didn't realize what the wisdom was. I thought it was just something that came with age. And I now understand it's not an automatic thing as you get older. It's those that choose to invest in themselves, on whatever level they have to invest, getting a coach, having somebody help them and guide them, learning to do the work. There is no escaping. There is no quick downloadable app, McDonald's drive-through, none of that. You have got to be willing to put the work in and go through the layers to get there. And then you can actually say, I've stepped into wisdom because I have been willing to unravel, to learn. And then from there, I'm now able to help somebody else, even if it's just helping somebody else by being a more of a beacon of light. You know, there is no quick fix, is there? I mean, how many lessons did you go through, Allan, before you found a system that worked? And who says in a year you're not going to look at that system and go, I need to redo this, reshuffle this, or maybe introduce something else in because you've learned along the way. We've got to be willing to learn, because that's what makes it exciting, is to keep learning.
Well, one of the things that I'm very proud about, and it's not a kind of a self-promotion thing, but being an Aquarius and a big thinker, holistic thinker, I felt that there were too many a la carte options for a lot of people. So when I worked at being in the laboratory over the last 20 years and putting together the 9-step system, we're always growing and learning. But what I have found that is if people go through these 9 steps within 60 to 90 days, they get into quite a high level of inner peace, tranquility, and self-confidence and mastery. Of course, they're always going to continue to grow. Yes. We all do. But my commitment is to help people fast track their ability to get to that place and put all the pieces together so it's not so confusing. Because I have friends, they're running to a rebirthing workshop here, and then they're doing some yoga here. Now they're going to a therapist there, and they never really put all the pieces together. They spend way too much time and a lot of extra money that they don't need to spend. Yeah. That was my commitment, to create this fast track holistic system.
Yes.
It's all the information in one backpack for them to take on their journey.
It's like a one-stop shop for personal development. It doesn't mean that it's the whole picture, because there are people that go through my program that might need to go to both of you for different reasons. You know, the kind of work, Christina, I don't know enough about what you're doing currently, Sara, but with Christina, she goes, I'm sure, a lot deeper than I do when it comes to the emotions and stuff that's sitting inside. But what I do is I'm a kind of a generalist that helps people jumpstart their entrepreneurship or dating experience or tracking their soulmate. Yeah. And then they get little pieces to just augment that.
Yes.
But that's what I pride myself in. It's kind of unique, and it's all inner multiple vitamin of personal development.
Yes. It's really important what you say too, Allan, about having a one-stop shop, because we're multifaceted. People are going at light speeds with the way the brain works because of internet and because of the way that the evolution now at the stage that we're at, we're so fast. You know, it's like, and the brain, so all of that activity can be slowed down, brought down. And then we have, as you say, the tools that you offer are broad enough so people can really gain from them, and they cover many different areas. It's just important to have that kind of comprehensive type of program available. I know what you're talking about too. A lot of people going from one thing to the next, you know, leapfrogging it here and there. And when I work with people, it's very intimate, one-on-one. Let's get into the energy field. Let's look at where these patterns have come from, the triggers, landmines, and things. Usually from ages 0 to 7, there is something that has created this, that the brain has just marked. It's just remembered. And we go in there and we rewire. Rewiring is so important. And then look at the emotions, the thoughts, the images that we hold in the mind. And so getting very deep with people, and that creates the kind of results where we're able to then, okay, now the inner self, the inner child is healed. I've released my addictions, because of course I work with people through addictions as well. I've broken through, breakthrough, and then now what do I want to do? What do I want to create? What kind of life do you really want to have? And so we start from there. But it's, for a lot of people, I think they get very fired up, really fired up about personal development. and then they look out into the sea of all the
Yes.
offerings, and they're like, oh, you know, so.
And also
and there isn't a
now,
one size fits all.
Yes,
I mean, you know,
that's true.
you're going to be somebody else's, you know, flavor. You know, I connect with this person.
Yes.
I resonate with them. I feel they'll hear my story. They'll understand what I need. And that's the point, isn't it? It's like, it's not just, you don't suit everybody. You're going to suit the people that they like your style. And if they like and connect with you, therefore they're going to listen to you.
Yes.
And apply that knowledge, right? And that's the important thing, is that connection.
that's another reason why being diagnosed with Parkinson's 4 years ago, and I'm not 21, although Christina nicely tells me I'm 17, but I do feel like 17. I'll tell you that right now.
I know, that's what I mean. You feel like.
I know. But the 9-step system I developed is much bigger than Allan Knight, and so my goal is to have a train-the-trainer program so that I can find people all over the world who will go through and take a certified program so that they could administer, just like Dale Carnegie outlived Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
That's really my goal. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that the importance of integrating into the Western society. My book is called Mind Gone Wild, Finding Freedom Within the Chaos, which, Christina, you were just talking about.
Love that.
And so what I found interesting is that living as a monk, of course, you're protected from a lot of the external stimulation. And when I read books on Tibet, for example, which I have a lot of respect for, Tibetan Buddhism, is they had a very harsh landscape and environment, and it pushed them inward. And then I thought, recently I had this insight. I thought, we also have a harsh landscape in terms of stimulation of money and energy and social media and competition and sports and pressure and politics. And so we're invaded too. So we have a choice. We either we drown in it, or we go deeper like the Tibetans did, and we start to work on the inside so that we can truly master. And the funny part is, I just read an article about some very high Tibetan Lama who is living in Canada now, and he's being investigated for sexual abuse.
Yes, that's very
So there's an example of how you could be a highly developed spiritual person who we revere because he's Tibetan or they're Chinese or whatever, and they come here and they're human, and they may never have dealt with their sexuality and then control issues and all that. So
triggers
it's
again.
it's so important to have a holistic approach to spirituality.
I think also the important thing is, and I think you've really brought this up, is that we look at priests and we look at monks and we look at all these people and we put them up on a pedestal, and we think that they're just godly, working on one plane and never tempted, never have issues of their own, you know, never dealing with their own demons.
Well,
and
Christina's like that, so we know.
Thank you.
So we have to look at the fact that we've all got we have to unpack. And it doesn't matter what the title is or where we've been, if we haven't had the opportunity. I mean, I did interview a monk that had recently left. He'd spent 33 years and now he had come into the world, and he was really confused of why people weren't walking around in this Zen. And I said, but how long have you been here? Oh, not very long. And I said, because you haven't been contaminated by the chaos yet. But you see how you live with the chaos and how Zen you can be. It is something you have to learn to do as a skill, because it's the outside going in, bombarding you all the time. Very easy to find peace in a peaceful place. It's finding peace in the chaos that's important.
Yes.
That's exactly.
Exactly. And in our retreats, you know, it's kind of like what Allan was saying. You've got to have this real holistic, you know, it's grounded in many different parts. And one of the components of our retreat is that we will sit with computer and internet. Of course, we unplug for most of the journey, but we do come and we do a practice where we're sitting at a laptop and we do our meditation while we're surfing the internet. We do a meditation in traffic. We do a meditation when we're in the wave and a wave is coming right up on your face, you know, and so we create these scenarios. Is a great training exercise, brilliant for the mind. Take off your shoes and go stand outside where the sun is boiling hot, and your feet are going to start to burn. And how you know, how the images, the thoughts, how you deal with that is just one example, how we build up in our system the tolerance so that we can take our retreat there's that word again, our practice of meditation into everyday life. Otherwise, it's useless. And then we go back and people have the retreat syndrome crash of the
Yes, the
epic.
same as the sugar high beforehand, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And we don't need that. We need things that are, we want to get to the real kernel of truth. People are in it for the truth. They want the truth serum.
The core truth.
Yes.
And, you know, the old thing of resistance is futile. You know, you can try and outrun your issues. You can try and numb them, drown them out, you know, pill them out, drink them out, shoot them up out, whatever. But you can't run away from you. You are with you for the rest of your life. And whatever your issues are, they're there with you. And if you don't like carrying this big, heavy coat with you all the time, then learn to take it off. Find out what it's like actually to be free. And then to actually put in you only what serves you. And there comes our choice. We don't always have a choice growing up because things are decided for us. But as an adult, we could now decide, what old data am I going to delete? And what am I going to reprogram myself with? And that's basically where you take them, isn't it, Allan?
Yeah, very much so. One other thought that I didn't share with you before is when I was living as a monk, I was the leader of the chanting, and I have a high respect for chanting. And I realized in North America, a lot of people have trouble just crossing their legs and being still and quiet at the beginning, because we're very emotionally focused here in North America, in the Western world. And what I have found has really been helpful for a lot of my clients is I'll teach them certain verbal chants. I adapt it to North American language, but it channels the emotion and it helps you get in the zone, is equivalent to meditation. So sometimes people, what I notice in a lot of my clients, some resonate more with chanting, some resonate more with meditation, some resonate more with the moving yoga or whatever it be. And it's important that people find something that's easy and resonates with them.
Right.
I think that's really important, because some people try to lay a trip. When I left the monastery, I try to tell everybody about Zen meditation. You got to do Zen, 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 Zen. But I became a little bit too dictatorial about
yes. This works for me. You've got to do it too.
Passionate.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand that passion, but also I think what we have to realize, that's your passion over that connection you have made. Each of us have to find our own voice. What is our passion? For me, it's music. You talked about working on the computer. I can have music in my ears, working on the computer, doing all the admin for the station. And, you know, my mind is doing the work, but my soul and my spirit is off dancing. It has completely transcended me. And you have to find out what it is that's going to get you into that Zen. And one Zen doesn't fit all.
Absolutely. So Sara, help me with this. How do I solve the problem? Every time I hear Christina's voice, I get triggered. I get irritated. I get all upset. How do I deal with that trigger?
For a start, you take a very deep breath. Right. And then you look at it deep down inside of what it is about her that's pissing you off.
It's that yellow flower in the back. I think.
This is offending you, Allan. Oh my goodness.
Then you wrap your arms around her and say, really, I really do love you.
Oh, Christina,
we gotta lean
Christina, I now release my anger and I love you. I love you unconditionally.
Thank you. That's it. That is perfect.
Because really what we're doing when we're angry at people, there's generally another face on it. Yes. We get angry with people because they've triggered something.
Well,
and we're reacting to that anger, but really when we look at it, it's someone else's face that's coming up there that we haven't dealt with yet.
You know, last night I was telling people a personal, practical example that could help them in their life right now. And I said, years ago, I find myself, I like walking down the street, browsing, stuff like that. So I started to notice that this so-called spiritual guy that I thought I was, almost everybody I saw pass me by, I was judging them. Oh, you have a poodle, you think you're hot, you know what? Oh, you have this ugly coat, how could you wear that? You seem like a very angry person, and why are you here? Or whatever it be. I was criticizing everybody. So next day I decide I'm going to spend 1 hour walking along the same street, and every human being that passes me by silently, I'm going to say, I love you, sir. I wish you well, man. hope you have a fantastic day. I wish you well. I did that for an hour, and I've never looked back since I've done that.
Right.
Oh, that is just
that's the resonance of heart. That's the resonance of love, is that we have no idea who's walking in those shoes that are passing you by or what they're dealing with. And sometimes just sending out that loving vibration, they may never know it's you, but suddenly they're feeling something.
So are you saying, Sarah, that because I just made the breakthrough with the trigger of Christina, my life will go to an even higher level right now?
Of course, loving Christina, you can only get higher.
I agree. I think this is great medicine for everyone. Everyone, take this example. Allan's example of channeling his energy, his anger, has just really, really given us a clear.
God, I feel good. I feel so good.
Don't you feel so released now? Yeah.
But you know, you're going to be surprised if you ask me some people will say, and I'm sure you're asked the question, which would be fun to hear your answers too. Who is the number one person that's influenced my life more than anyone? So I want to start with each one of you. Who's the person? Could be anybody. It doesn't have to be a fancy name or, you know, a famous name. Who's that one person who has positively influenced your life more than anybody?
It's not a human being for me. It has always been my divine spirit that has always been there for me. Wow. Always guided me. And there have been influences of people.
Can we say beyond the human spirit?
Beyond
the spiritual.
As human beings, there's been people that have triggered things for me. Wayne Dyer, definitely, his teachings, even Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle. There's always something. Oprah, you know, I realize in a lot of ways that our style, and I didn't know this, of interviewing is quite similar, but, you know, mine just organically comes out the way it is, as it does with her. And I think it's there's been various people along the way that I have admired, and because of that admiration, they've been an inspiration. And this is why I do these shows, Allan, is that you're inspiring someone and you're inviting them in that inspiration to want to step up, want to know more, want to investigate and participate. Because really what we're asking people to do is participate in their lives by investing in themselves to become what they are meant to become, to do what they're meant to do here. So it's hard for me to put down any one person. There's been so many people in my feast. Christina?
I give that question thoughtful contemplation. And so just listening to you, Sara, from the heart space, I have to say the same things. That's a tough one to nail down for one particular individual. I would have to say, though, my son. I think that comes to the first. Because, you know, he's, as all children are, so pure. So in the here and now. And forgiving, trusting, open, and knows how to play. So been the ultimate Zen teacher for me. And I'm not joking. I mean, it's really like that. I stand in awe of my son, and it's been an inspiration in my life and the greatest gift. And like parents will say, it's cliche to say, but that for me has been my greatest, most inspiring.
Your children, you're busy influencing them, and there's a turning point when they're influencing you. Sure. And actually, I think that's a wonderful gift, because you realize that encouraging them, you know, to step into that, when they start reverberating back to you what you've been saying to them all these years, you go, yay! I had an influence.
Who is the most influential for you?
Christina, I'm disappointed. I thought it was me.
I'm just suddenly seeing the halo.
I know. I saw that too.
I think this is the second time I've spoken with her. Although in past lives we might have seen each other.
Yes.
The person I'm going to say is very surprising to most people I'll talk with. I've had wonderful mentors, wonderful teachers, spiritually, personal development. But the one human being that has had more impact on my life than any other is the old rat packer, Dean Martin. And the reason I say that, I'm obsessed, not obsessed, I just love and adore this man. And although he was in an era where drinking and smoking was okay, he projects, he's a really good singer, but he's not a great singer, but he's one of the best personalities of all time. And I love current music. And so it's not just because it's the past. I have friends who are 21 who are part of a fan club for Dean Martin all over the world. And it's the joy that he projects. He's taught me more than most motivational speakers have. He lives it. His wife, when he died on Christmas Eve, she said he was the most peaceful man she ever knew.
Yeah.
And his joy oozes out. I watch 2 or 3 of his video clips every day, and I smile. And I gave a talk at a church about loving, and I ended it. There were 500 people in the church, and I ended it with a video of Dean Martin coming out and singing love and a smile and a joy. And I looked up, and everyone was smiling.
Yeah.
So the joy that he projects has impacted me, because I want to be more like that, because we all have that inner joy. So he's had more impact than anybody else, but a lot of people have had an impact.
You have to meet Darcy Murdoch, Allan. He's a Vancouver guy, actually a double lung transplant, but he sings the crooners, Sinatra and everything, and Dean Martin is his love. He loves to sing Dean Martin, and he's got that wonderful crooner voice. I will send you his show for everybody else. Darcy Murdoch, come and listen to his show and listen to his songs, because he does take you back. And there is something about the old style, because there was some honesty in the songs, wasn't there? It was like, it wasn't sung from the chest. It wasn't sung from how much money am I going to make. It was really sung
personality. Personality.
The love.
And we're missing that.
Yeah.
We're missing that, and also a bit of that romantic chivalry era that I miss. That's why the Soulmate Revolution. I want to bring back. I was going to call it the nightclub, KNIGHT.
Oh my gosh, that's so
bring a little chivalry back.
Yeah.
Actually, that would actually be a very good nightclub. Yes.
I think a lot of
well, you could be our first member, Sarah.
There you go. Well, I used to be a former go-go dancer, so but I don't think we want to bring that back.
I see the tattoo there on your arm, Sara. Is that?
This is actually, if you can see it, it's a form of 2 butterflies meeting in the middle, and it's the Celtic runes Gifu. You know how we always put an X, love and kisses. Well, the X actually represents partnership, and it's partnership of 2 parties coming together in wholeness to form a collaboration, to form a partnership. So this is actually designed by my one daughter, and this is a relationship with my children.
That's
wonderful.
So
that's beautiful.
And I think this is the thing is, I'm always referring to the orchestra of life. And it's that when we discover our I am this instrument, this is my purpose, this is what I'm going to play for the world. And then when you've perfected it enough to join the orchestra, and you become an we are, and you create this symphony that just resonates out and invites people to join, to get up and dance, to sing along, to just flow with it. That's really what we're needing. We're needing this transcendence of love, transcendence of harmony. When you've actually stepped into joy, you really don't want to go back to sadness. We need a lot more gladness. And that only way we're going to get rid of the sadness is if we're willing to go in and clean house. And it's still going to be now and again, that thing that we need to face sometimes of, there's an old trigger or there's an old issue come up. It doesn't mean you failed at cleaning out. It's just something in that cellular that hid from you, and something's come out. So just deal with it. Just deal with it the way you've been taught by people like Allan, people like Christina, because they have developed the tools through the experience. And that, I've always said, is the best kind of teacher, someone who's been there, someone who understands, somebody who resonates with you, somebody who really knows what they're doing because they've used these tools on themselves. And those are always the best kind of teachers. So having said that, would you please, Allan, break down your program a little more for us, how we can get your book and how people can join you?
Well, the easiest way, first of all, if you want to access the 9 steps in a very simple format, if you go to what'sholdingyouback.com, you could just put your email address and name, and over the next 2 weeks, every second day, you'll get a short 2 to 3 minute video that outlines in a very general way what those 9 steps are. If you want to peruse my website, you could go to allanknight.com. That's ALLANKNIGHT. KNIGHT.com. That's AllanKnight.com. You can contact me at area code 604-720-3177, or just email me at info@AllanKnight.com. I do a complimentary 45-minute assessment and evaluation.
45 minutes is very generous.
Yeah, you know what I do I don't do a lot of coaching, but I do selected coaching, people that are very hungry to go to the next level, because I'm going to be spending a lot more time with webinars and podcasts, etc. But if you are very hungry to get to the next step and have been intrigued what we've talked about here, I'm happy to do an assessment and evaluation. And during that evaluation, I'll help you to see exactly what's holding you back. You'll see the x-ray. You'll see where your strengths are, the areas that you got to work on, how you could fast track that through the 9-step process. And then we'll get a sense to see if there's a fit between you and I in coaching. Ultimately, I'm going to do more group works as well as our audience grows. But that's really the best way to get in touch with me. As far as the book, if you go onto AllanKnight.com, there is a book link. You could order it through Amazon there.
Excellent. And, you know, the book is also a really good way to start, isn't it? Because, again, if they get something from the book, if they connect with you, again, it's all about that connection. You know, there isn't the one size fits all. If Allan is your flavor, is this the person that you feel like he can hear you, then you'll know from reading the book. You'll know from listening to these videos. And then you can really reach out. And for some, it might be, you know, the one-on-one coaching, or it might be listening to all your podcasts and your webinars and gathering that information. It's whichever way you want to dive in, just join, get in, taste the wares, right?
Yes.
You're welcome. You're all welcome.
Exactly. And you don't know what's going to be a fit until you try it on. I mean, how many times, this is a women's thing, you go and look at a dress and go, no, I don't like it on the hanger. And somebody says, try it on. And you try it on and go, oh, this is sensational. It's the same with a coach. You got to try them on. You've got to see if they're speaking to the inner you.
That's
Sometimes you don't like what they're saying to the outer you because your inner is resisting. Right? But listen a bit more, that inner resistance will open up.
Sure.
Everything you're saying, Sarah, is bang on. I have found over the years, because it's personality and you have to feel good with it. Yeah. And I have a lot of women clients, a lot of men clients, but I have discovered that there is a certain type of female client I have, and the other ones, some of them are looking for more of a life coach, therapist, ongoing sharing over a long period of time, which is very important for some people. They may not resonate. I'm a bit more of a, how do we fast track your ability now? How to get a bit more of the male energy, the focus, the discipline, the simple communication. So some women are in business, they really want that. They've maybe done some of the other work and they really resonate with, doesn't mean I'm not a good listener or I don't share in a nice, deep, sensitive way. But my program is more geared to people who want to elevate their game and go to the Olympic level. It's not the same.
Yeah, so I think they have to come. Yeah, they have to come into you at a certain level already. Have maybe done some work. Certainly know that they're ready to join the gym and work out. That this isn't going to be, you know, I'm going to watch and see. It is, you've got to participate in it. And so that's the thing. It is.
Hold it, Sarah. I'm getting an intuition. I sense that your future soulmate is listening to us now, will come into my program, and then I'll direct him to you. You'll meet him through me.
Oh, bless you.
Wow.
Okay. Wonderful.
What a premonition.
It's actually interesting because 2-3 weeks ago, I put a show out on my own show saying, Sara's ready for dating. It's the first time in 7.5 years. I've put it out to the universe, so we'll see.
Put out. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
You put it out there, you place your order, and then ready to receive.
Then you get out of the way. And you
place
just
your order.
But not,
very romantic.
Not at McDonald's. Yeah.
No. Oh no, 5-star, thank you. 5-star.
I have to.
Give me the old Dean Martin type, please.
Yeah, let's get a little.
Definitely.
Get a little bit of class.
Everybody loves somebody sometime.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and I would love to have that type of.
If you don't mind, I have, Sarah, I think I have, if I don't have your email, please send it to me. I want to send you both 5 or 6 little video clips of Dean Martin for you to enjoy.
Yes,
So
Okay.
that would
and
be
I'm going to send
joy.
you
Thank
Darcy Murdoch, and you're going to love his music. In fact, when you open up your nightclub, he should be there singing Dean Martin.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And he plays a lot at the Sylvia Hotel.
Oh, I know it well. Yeah.
Right, which is an
Oh,
old hotel, it's an old
yeah.
landmark. So, and that's the thing is that when you find somebody that sings to you, you know, that somebody that resonance of it, and if ever you're feeling sad or bad, it's kind of go and listen to it. You know it's going to warm you up. You know it's going to make you feel good. It's going to be your nurturing, and just let it boost you up and put you in that right frame of mind again. So, Christina, for here you can find her always on Channeling Ascensions here on selfdiscoveryradio.com. But how can people find you and Othello? And Othello didn't come in today, so that's okay.
No, and sometimes we have shows where it's just not in the flow, and it's not needed. I think
It must have been me. It must have been me.
Always
no, there's just times that she thinks we're doing a good enough job without her.
Oh my gosh. Don't we always do that though? We take things, it's so funny how the mind works. That's exactly what I coach people on too.
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
Allan, you and I have so much banter. This is great.
I know.
I love the banter, and it's so classy, keeping it classy. So people, you know, they arrive on the scene, they're looking for an extremely unique coach. You know, they want to manifest results, but they know that they have inner blocks. They know that they have things on the inside that, you know, maybe they can't name, maybe they can. But point being is that you really want, the kind of coaching that I do is very much in your energy field. It's going inside, and you have the support and the bonding that is needed for that. I do have a 3-month coaching program where we go into manifesting what it is you want to manifest. But before we do, we find the spiritual core root. You get your roots done first.
You're so good with your words.
I mean, seriously, you gotta clean it out, you know. And I have.
You hike it out. You hike it out.
Totally. We got to get that stuff treated though first, because we do the Band-Aid solution. We know that doesn't work.
No.
Talk blah blah blah. We can talk all day, but the feeling behind the energy field, and we get it today. Everyone listening in the audience, we feel the energy behind the words. The heartbeat of all of this is like, there is an authentic presence, and it's love vibration, and that's where people are like, oh yeah, I want some of that. So it starts with that, and the coaching program that I do is 3 months. It's long enough for us to really, really shift these old paradigms, but also to do your inner healing, get the roots done, and then to start creating, because we're creating all the time, but you might have gotten off track. We want to create the things that you really do love, and find out what the heck that is. So yeah, you can meet with me and Othello. You can find us at Othello.org. That's ATHELLA.org. And we also do retreats. Retreat is a great way to just slam dunk. You just dive right in, and you stay with me. You hang with me for 3 or 4 days. Privately, it's one-on-one. They're very small, intimate retreats where we go out into nature. And we meditate.
Swim with the dolphins.
Yes, we swim with the dolphins. We meditate like an iguana. We go through hidden water caves. We go to the Mayan pyramids. And not so much about where we go, though. It's about going inside.
Who we take with us.
As you say, Sara, you are going to be with you for
Yes.
your life. So let's start within, and we do the meditation practice amidst the chaos. And I put you in different kind of situations so that when you leave here, the retreat stays with you, and you take it with you, those skills, and it's not just a one-time thing. And I humbly invite all of you with great humility, great gratitude to Othello.org. So send me an email, contact me through a session. I also do a free 30-minute session, so we can find out if this is a good fit, find the energy there, see what frequency you'd like to work with. And if not, I have great referrals. And Allan, I'm going to be adding you to my referral list, because you are wonderful energy. Fantastic. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
And to remember, folks, right here on selfdiscoveryradio.com, you're going to find all this wonderful wisdom in our Orchard of Wisdom library. And the whole thing is that when you go to the library, you're looking for a particular book of information. Well, I'm inviting you to come here and look at the various genres and the different information, because I guarantee you, there's going to be a few shows here when the people speak to you, they're speaking to you. you're ready to hear them. You're ready to apply that knowledge. No knowledge is outdated. It may be refined, it may be repolished, but it's never outdated because wisdom never goes out of date. So check Allan out. AllanKnight.com. See if he's a fit for you. If you really are wanting that breakthrough, you're ready to put in the work to hit the emotional gym and really work out, you know, he's going to have you work out and just get through it. And the tools that you'll have at the end of it that you put in your backpack on your journey of life will be tools that you'll use over and over and over again, because it's not something, again, like a McDonald's drive-through and lose it. It's something that's going to stay with you because it is nutritional, right? It feeds the heart and the soul, which is really wonderful. The vegan, yes, it's vegan. Vegan knowledge.
Let's call it the Four Seasons Hotel.
Okay, that's a good one, right?
And opulence.
That is, but it's also, we are 4-season creatures. So this is information that will cover you on all 4 seasons, which is really, really important. So selfdiscoveryradio.com, don't forget, we're on video, we're on podcasts. We have a wonderful sponsorship program. And if you want to be a guest, drop me a line, info@selfdiscoveryradio.com. And we will be bringing you more shows of more wonderful people who are making a difference in the world, because that's what we celebrate here. Thank you, Allan, for being with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Awesome.
My pleasure. And goodbye, and take care, everybody. Remember, love yourself.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.